a show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on JTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon Spa Nail and Barbershop, the Wellness Center, Medical and Behavioral Health Clinics, Ticely Cross Deliciously Smooth Cider, HOV Medical, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light Bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. Welcome to this edition of The Big Story. I'm down here at the office of the Director of Waste Management, very new to the territory, Mr. Marcus Solomon, and it's very rare that we sit to talk about the issue of waste management in the Virgin Islands, and him being a new face around, why not grab the opportunity to have that conversation? I want to thank you so much for joining me on the set for This Big Story.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we know it's just not even probably a half of a year that you are here, not even 6 months. Give us a little introduction as to who you are, your expertise in this field.
Okay, I tend to prefer to call myself a strategist as opposed to a director or environmentalist, right? So my expertise starts with going back to Trinidad and Tobago, right? Where my career really started off in the oil industry. It moved across into public sector, where I started to focus on more around planning and transformation. So, and then I moved on to public utilities, which was public utility transformation, working towards modernizing our utility sector, which will include the water, the electricity, the waste, and postal sector. So I've worked on a number of initiatives to modernize our sector in those areas. And then I moved directly into the waste management, similar company like BVI, where I was responsible for policy and strategy and transforming that organization towards recycling and how we manage waste properly.
Awesome. Given the experience you would have had in Trinidad and Tobago, compare the two sectors.
Comparing BVI and Trinidad and
Yes.
Tobago, there are areas where BVI is ahead of Trinidad, and there are areas where Trinidad is ahead of BVI. So it all depends on how we look at it. For instance, just to give a quick example, in Trinidad, waste is managed by different agencies.
The private industries.
We have the private sector, and then we have local government. So our local government body in Trinidad and Tobago will manage the collection and transportation of waste for us. So they will, and the solid waste company which I work for, we manage the disposal and the treatment of the waste, right? And they're on the private sector side, they are responsible for the management of their waste, right? Whereas in most times, and the BVI, as you're aware, we are responsible for everything. The Department of Waste is responsible for the management of waste at the entire country. So there is no separate entities treating with different parts of it. We also have a regulator who has oversight of us, both on the state and company side as well as the private sector side. They will manage and set regulations for us to follow as well, which is something that I know BVI we are working towards.
Awesome. So, being new mean that you have to get familiar with the various sectors, with the various communities, and the ways in which waste is handled and cared for. How is this process going for you?
It's going good because in that part was the easiest part of the job so far, because that's the part where Trinidad and BVI is very similar. The way we manage waste in Trinidad is similar to what BVI does right now, in that most of our waste is managed through because we don't have the incinerator, most of the waste is managed through the dump site. And just like in Trinidad, we have a dump site as well, but ours is controlled. So there are different categories of when you deal with landfill, there are three various categories. The highest it could be is sanitary engineered landfills. That is a landfill that really managing your gas, your leachate, its control. There's declaration of forms that has to note different types of waste. The waste is diverted and managed accordingly. We don't. In which Trinidad is not there yet, except for Tobago, the part of in the case of Tobago, but the Trinidad part of Trinidad and Tobago, we have a control dump site where we have the gates and so on, and we control the waste that is coming in, what type of waste comes in. In the BVI, that's the part we are a little behind in Trinidad. We have a uncontrolled dump site, which makes it very challenging for us to manage the fires. Because the big issue,
yeah.
and so on, because all the waste is coming together, we don't have the capacity at this point in time to differentiate and separate the waste and remove hazardous waste from the regular waste. So everything is being buried into the landfill like that. It's uncontrolled. People are able to come into the facilities at any time or at any point, and those are the things we are trying to do. So we're trying to move away from being an uncontrolled dump site to get to a point we have a controlled dump site and move to a sanitary landfill as well.
What does that process entail?
That process entails that we are putting a lot of quality controls into the system. So a lot of our the way we manage the waste in terms of first internally, and that is we are trying to do as much source separation as possible. So we are trying to separate some of the hazardous waste from the regular waste, so it's not buried within the landfill. We are also doing some gate controls. So you'll find that the gate closes at a certain time now. We are still working towards, and part of our engagement and me going out is to try to start the process of engaging the public. So we encourage them to try to source separate. So it makes it easy for us as well in terms of knowing what we are handling, so we know not to bury certain stuff. We are also, and you'll see a lot of tenders went out, we are also now trying to partner with the private sector and NGOs to treat with certain types of waste which are recyclable and which shouldn't be on the landfill, like waste oil. So there's a waste oil tender where we are looking to partner with someone who could help us recycle that waste and treat with that, to collect it first and treat with it and recycle it and make money from it as well. So we are looking at that. We are looking at some other pieces as well. Soon we're looking at the plastics to do. So there are some things that will be coming out, but right now we're trying to source separate, try to get to the point at which we build the infrastructure for source separation so that we are able to manage waste that is coming to the landfill.
Okay. Given the fact that, especially now that we are controlling the gate time at the dump site, I could foresee some challenges from that. What mechanisms are in place to ensure that certain challenges are avoided? For instance, dumping elsewhere carelessly in places that you really should not done, because I got my waste and I need to get it off of this truck because I'm only paying for it for X amount of time. So I may very well find some place to dump.
Right. So what we are doing as well, as I said, one of the key things to this is public awareness, and the other is knowing who you can contact. So it's not just a case of contacting us. We have partners in this. In providing this service, we have your garbage collectors in your districts. I met with them actually yesterday. We had my meeting with them yesterday, and that meeting went really well. In fact, to the point at which I again will encourage the public: know your district, know who collects garbage for you, let them know when you need assistance, because they are responsible for collecting your bulk waste and they are responsible for collecting your regular waste. But there's a schedule. Get to know the schedule in a district so that they can coordinate their pickup times with when you want to put out some of those things. And you can also, they as well as the department will work with you. So if you contact us in advance and let us know that you have X amount and this is the type and you're looking for assistance, we will try to make arrangements for you.
Okay. The dynamics varies in the Virgin Islands because we have various islands that are habited. We have 4 islands. Turtle is just the main. We have Virgin Gorda, Anegada, Yos Van Dyke as well. How are we working around to make sure that the very system that we have on Tortola exists on these other islands?
Okay, so that's a good question. It's a question I will answer probably similar to what I did last night when I met with District 1. And that is to say, every district or every area has its own subculture, have its own set of unique infrastructure, right, and relationships and how they want these services to be rendered to them. What we are trying to do, and you'll hear me speaking more and more as I go about the island, is talking about partnerships and us understanding each other and what your needs are, and us trying to work towards trying to find how best we can facilitate your needs given the financial infrastructure we have, resources we have available to us. So I have visited all the islands. So the approach we have adopted for Virgin Gorda, which already has a framework and plan in place, which you will see is that we have gone out with a tender, which is asking for a site development plan for that will enable us to not only treat with the solid waste in Virgin Gorda, but also fecal waste and wastewater infrastructure on Virgin Gorda. So that's supposed to have site visits this Friday here. Hopefully we get a lot of tenders of persons coming in to bid for this. But what you'll see is if we get this thing successful, you'll see a modernized developmental plan that will see us having Virgin Gorda leapfrog and be probably one of the best in the Caribbean in the management of their waste. And not just, as I said, their solid waste, but also their fecal waste.
Why?
So that
Why would that be so for Virgin Gorda? What's the dynamics?
The dynamics was that Virgin Gorda has already have a built-in culture of separation of their waste. So we believe strongly that one of the things that'll be very successful is the material recovery facility, and a modernized material recovery facility, which will treat close to 90% of their waste and be able to generate domestic products from it, and those products that cannot be treated domestically, we'll be able to export it in keeping with the requirements for it to be exported, because we'll have a modernized material recovery facility there. We'll also have a waste stabilization pond or waste treatment or water waste treatment plant there, so that will treat with all the fecal waste that will be generating one time, and that a modernized one is able to utilize that in the agricultural industry. So we are looking at that very carefully. And the waste that totally cannot be treated at all, we'll have a sanitary landfill. So it's managed there, and that's only about 5 to 10% of your waste. So we have something there that if we get off the ground, we believe strongly that could last at least 50 to 100 years. And that's why we're looking forward to these proposals to come forward. So Virgin Gorda, as I said, can leapfrog and show the Caribbean how to do it, and the rest of the island. So we have something going forward. We saw there was great potential for it, and we said, let's get this thing going. And I have seen people sending me from different countries, international, Europe, even within the Caribbean, here in BVI, asking for the proposal, and we have been sending it to them, the RFP, the request for proposals for them, and hopefully they will make a submission, and hopefully we could have someone come in and have that plan. The next step, once the plan is accepted, is to start the construction. So the RFP speaks to not just preparing this beautiful site development plan, but also helping us prepare the packages that go with this plan and the supervision of all the necessary infrastructural construction works that has to take place for the successful bidder. So they will have to see to that and help us do that as well.
Okay, there's a time frame in which you're working.
Yes, the time frame is that is by I think the end of September. Bid's supposed to come in, so we'll be able hopefully to communicate to our principals, the line ministry, and the general public if we are recommending anyone who's successful.
Okay. Awesome. So before we move off from Virgin Gorda to go to see what's the situation at Yas Van Dyke and Anegada, I just recently had a conversation, an interview with one resident over there that is storing and I think it's the vehicles that are derelict. That's the word I was looking for.
Don't worry. I myself would have challenges saying the word sometimes.
Sometimes just disappear from you. There's an issue. There are several issues that seem to be bothering that resident who's been for I think over 20 years now utilizing a particular site. Well, I understand it's a family land to stockpile. Are you aware of the challenges with this particular area?
Yes, I'm aware. One of the things I tell the story over and over every time I have interviews, and I'll come quickly to his story and bringing it to context in terms of how I have approached things here. From the time I've landed, every interaction I've had with someone after they ask you where you work, and you tell them where you work was, I expect you to attend to the direct vehicles, fires at the landfills, and the incinerator. Those have been the things people have told me they're going to judge me on.
Okay, all right.
Because it's
Jesus on earth.
yes, because these things apparently have been legacy issues,
Yes.
and it has troubled the country.
Yeah.
And some people have been so passionate that let me know it is impacting the tourism product of the island.
Definitely.
In fact, they have gone so far to say our island was considered one of the best in the world, not the Caribbean. Let's make it clear,
yes,
in the
yes.
world,
World order,
right?
yes.
And listen, you need to fix that to get us back to the top of the world. So direct vehicles is one of my priorities. So immediately I tried to do a quick assessment of what the challenges have been in terms of this island struggling to deal with direct vehicles. So immediately there was a plan constructed to make sure that we get as much vehicles out by September the 18th. So there's a batch coming in. And we have been trying to do things above the law. For me, it has been, anywhere I work, I try to appreciate a country's laws, laws that guide this industry, and try to comply with those laws. So the country, fortunate for this country, which we don't have home, which is good for this country, is that you all have a law called a Direct Vehicles Act. And the act is very clear. It says that if essentially what it says is that if your vehicle is really not roadworthy in a nice way, if your vehicle is one that we recognize is no longer good, that I am duty bound as a director to communicate same to you. That communication comes through a tag. And if it's on government property, you have 14 days to respond and attend to it.
So you can go on private as well.
And that's what I'm coming to.
Okay.
I could also go on private, your law says. And it says when I do it on private, you have 21 days to attend to it.
Oh.
Of course, law is not one-sided. You can challenge. And the law says you can challenge during that process as well. Right? So that's why I have 14 days on government land, or you could move it and go and treat with your property if it's on government land. If it's on private land, you can treat with it. And you will work with me or with us, and you will treat with how you're going to treat with it. Now, if you don't treat with it, I am duty bound to move it.
Oh, okay.
Because it then serves essentially it's a good law because it serves as a nuisance to the public. Because those direct vehicles could have all kind of things.
Oh, yes.
Right? And then the same public will say, we have
this. And it's public hazards as well.
Correct.
Because we would have seen fires breaking out of some of these things.
Correct. So, because of the Mr. Flack situation is one whereby there is direct vehicles on his property. So I would have asked that the team go in and tag those vehicles. Now, what I'm aware of is that he has done work for the department in the past. I'm aware that we do have money for Mr. Flax, so let me acknowledge that Mr. Flax, we do have money for Mr. Flax. So one of the things, I personally have met with Mr. Flax at least 2 or 3 times, and I would have tried to find out why has he not been paid. In fact, I wrote Mr. Flax about it. In fact, I wrote him first of all to let him know that because of the program that we are doing, I will need to remove those vehicles and have it removed in time for the badge. Right, and I would have asked him to respond.
But before you go further, those vehicles they're stockpiled there at the request of government. Am I to understand that correctly?
I wasn't part of that, so I can't say that because I have asked for the documentation around it, and there is no real documentation. What I do know is that what I have documentation on is that Mr. Flax was given a contract on 2 occasions to remove vehicles on our behalf.
Okay.
And what I've realized that happens sometimes on Totola, and well, overall British Virgin Island, you are a very caring country. There's a lot of in-kind relationships taking place, in that because you maybe put the country first, and which is great, and we can continue to encourage BVI citizens to do that. Right? You may enter into relationships whereby you say, okay, given that I'm doing this already, and you all need time to store You may enter into that type of relationships, and I think that may have happened in terms of you agreed to store the vehicle because we're supposed to move the vehicles, and and since you're already working the contract to take the vehicles to the sites, and I think that is what may have happened because there's no relationship between the department and Mr. Flax as relates to storage of vehicles. I know he has written me. I got a correspondence on August the 18th with regards to now seeking payment for the storage of the vehicles. But again, I'm constrained, as you will appreciate, by I have to follow your laws. You have a financial laws associated. You have your procurement laws as well, right? So I have to, in order to make any payment to anybody, I have to first determine if there is actual engagements related to that payment, and I also have to have that certified. Correct. And if there's no documentation, as the accounting officer, I can't do it. And that's where we are at, where Mr. Flax and I, our relationship, so I do know of the payments related to the movement of the vehicles, and that impact him on two contracts that they have held 10% and that is because your law, and I saw the call circular myself, clearly communicates that if you have any outstanding payments to the state, whether it be Social Security, taxes, and so on, the state will withhold the stuff until you become, they call it good standing, and you become into good standing. So I cannot issue a payment unless it comes higher than me, right, to issue a payment. What I have asked, and I've had that conversation with him, is that he provides some evidence to me that it's in good standing, or communicates to me in writing that he's in good standing, so I can make the necessary checks with the relevant agencies who may say you are not in good standing before I can request a payment be made. Yes. Yeah, and I think it's just about 7,000 thereabout. I think we owe him for those things, and those would have happened very much prior some years back. So it's something that has been long-standing. I've been trying to address all legacy issues in the department very quickly. So that is one I have asked him to please, if he could do his end, so that I can close that item off our books. But regards to the one that he's claiming, I understand, for the storage of vehicles, you will be familiar because you are the first one to come and do another interview and ask me why I make the payment. So that is one I have to get documentation to support if there was a relationship between the department and him for that.
And he has an issue with safety when persons come to tag, having to climb those mounts to tag the vehicles that are there, the direct vehicles.
Right. Okay, that's a very important question. And I think you can do your journalistic investigations. From the moment I came here, I've met with my staff. I have, as you mentioned, there's 4 major islands. I visited all 4 major islands. And we have this island, we have, besides this site here, we have the incinerator site, and then we have the street cleaning by Longbush. And I had meetings with all my office, with all the staff. I didn't hide. And one of the first things I would have communicated to staff is that health and safety is very important to me. In the past, I know they have had accidents with staff, and I have placed as a responsibility on on managers and supervisors that staff are well aware of the need to wear their personal protective equipment, that staff are well aware of the various risks associated with the work that they do, and that we also assess every job that we do. We make sure and assess the risk to make sure that it doesn't create any situation where staff are injured, whether slightly or severely or fatally. And that is a position I've made clear. It's someone I monitor as well at this office, and that's why you'll see that during the course since I've been here, we have a lot of purchases to make sure that staff where they require new equipment and so on, they are provided with it. So I wasn't there on the site except when I came across later in the evening to see how things were proceeding. I am well aware tagging took place. The officers told me they assessed everything, and they tag those. In fact, Mr. Flax have from the report I received, we estimate to close to 200 to 300
Oh
vehicles.
yes, that's so. I've
And
visited that site.
we were able to only tag 88. So if we had tried to tag all,
Risk of danger.
it means it would have had a risk of
Yes,
danger.
yes,
So it means that the team would have made sure, and I'm happy you said you were there to see for yourself, to make sure that the ones that they tag is the ones that they felt that they were in a position to safely do it. In fact, they tagged 88 and there was no injuries, not even a cut.
Okay. All right. Happy to hear that, and we hope it continues in that trend.
And that is the trend we are trying to do right now.
Okay.
That's the approach we have adopted across the board. Even everything we are doing now, it has a kind of level of science to it. Right?
Okay.
And and as I told the district yesterday, you will see even now, when you even if you even hear about a fire, you'll hear it don't last long either. And you could see for yourself here on the island, right? You'll see that a lot of things you could pass, the sky is more clear, right? Because everything, there's steps there, even if you see smoke.
Okay, all right.
That
Glad
must
to
be
hear
followed,
about that.
right.
All right, so much for Virgin Gorda for now, because we want to quickly tap in on Jos Van Dyke and Anigada.
Right. So with respect to Anigada, what we have been doing there is that their major issue is related to the animals coming and dislodging the garbage. Right? That's one of the major issues that they would have highlighted, and I saw for myself. So we are working towards creating more stabilized bins, because they have the luxury of house to house. So we are working towards looking at making sure they are aware of the times that the collectors are coming out, and working close with the garbage collectors so that they don't have to have it there staying too long for the animals to come and interfere with it. So we won't have it dispersed all over the place. So we are working towards doing that, improving the relationship and the communication between the collectors and they, as the residents, putting out their waste. And we are also looking at strengthening the base and the infrastructure that we use to put out the garbage. So that is something we're working
That's the dump
towards.
site.
That's just collection alone. We're going on to the dump site now. So they have a dump site, just similar to what we have asked for Tortola. I've asked the deputy director. We are looking closely at what can be done to manage Anigada dump site as well.
So that's a study going on right now.
Yeah. Want to see what is the best option, because similar to Virgin Gorda, when I went there and I actually visit and walk on the sites, right? Most of their waste is again recyclable waste. So from my estimation and also from your reports, again similar to Virgin Gorda, maybe only about 5 or 10% of that waste might be waste that really needs to be either treated via incineration or treated via burial. All right. But there's some infrastructure we'll have to put up there in order to divert those recyclable waste as well, and that is something we are looking at to see what can be done. Of course, that will also have to fit into all the things we're doing with regards to if we have funding, right? So I want to put that out there before people say, oh, listen, I see things happening across there, but it all depends on funding, right? But we're looking at the plan to see what is reasonable, because their population size, of course, is also smaller. So we could probably try our best to make sure and have the material recovery or transfer station set up like what Joyce Van Dyke have there. Because Joyce Van Dyke is great. They're the easiest one. No headache for me at all.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah. They're doing an awesome job. They have a transfer station. The only thing there is to continue to do the work to improve the infrastructure on the transfer station. There's some little illegal dumping here and there, but I like to be fair to everyone.
Okay.
Even the persons who do illegal dumping. I like to take the burden of the responsibility that is our fault first.
Okay.
That one, we need to do a better job at communication. Two, we need to do a better job of informing persons how to package and treat with their waste. And we need to also make sure when we are doing those things that persons actually receive the information, that they understand the information, and that understanding of the information means that direct engagement with the person and showing them so that they can apply that information thereafter. And I think sometimes we don't do a good job at that. And I think
Communication is one of the toughest job to do.
yes, yes. So I don't want to blame anyone. I want to I want us
Take
to take ownership for that.
Yeah, and
So
work
we are
towards
working
getting the
towards going to have our meetings there. As yet, we are yet to have one with the community.
Okay.
Right. Until we have that with the community, then we can then go forward. So we are challenged by that, but we are working as a team with our collectors across there. I make sure a member of staff go across there every week as well to make an assessment so that we could create the framework by which we could have appropriate communication with them, because everybody communicates differently.
Yep.
You need to understand your audience.
Yes,
So
yes. And being new in the territory as well, the dynamics of the levels of communication.
Yes. So that is happening. But to be fair to them, I will rank them as one of the first. If I was to rank the islands in terms of what is the greatest challenge for the department, they are the least of our challenges.
Oh, awesome to hear. I know this is no by no means a very easy task to do. Yes, we can talk about it, we can share plans, we can work around strategies, but actual execution sometimes takes time, and so I know this is what you are up to, and we really look forward to seeing better done in terms of waste management. Before we close off here, quickly, how are you collaborating with organizations like Green VI in this instance, if there is any collaboration?
Well, I love your question. It's the easiest question to give me for the day. Actually, to be fair to Green VI, they are one of the first institutions to reach out to me.
Wow.
And
they reached out. You didn't have to go.
I didn't have to go. Right? They are one of the first institutions that reached out to me. And we have regular meetings. I have it as a schedule. Regular meetings every Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
We meet every Tuesday.
I don't see why you said this is the easiest.
Yeah, we meet every Tuesday to look to see how are we getting towards our goal, our collective goal, which is to get this island, this country, to a net zero position.
Awesome.
Right, where we could boast to the world that we are one of the examples to follow and have in terms of a green economy. Awesome. So we meet on a weekly basis to see how we are progressing towards the things that we are working towards. And I appreciate their help. I really appreciate their help and assistance. So that is happening right now.
All right. Okay, well, it was great having this conversation with you. I trust it's not the last of your time here. I hope it's a very long time you will spend here, and to see progress in this area, because this is definitely one of the gray areas that persons have been complaining about. They're affected by the smoke, especially down there at Puckwood Pond. Whenever a fire erupts, it is a major challenge and a major concern, especially when it comes to the health risks that are posed by this. So once again, welcome to the Virgin Islands. Welcome to great work that's ahead of you and towards a successful execution.
Yeah. I want to thank you. I want to thank your audience. Let me say again, I apologize to District 1 for the inconvenience they incurred due to some of the fires that have happened in the past. And also we had a recent one that we attended to within 24 hours. And I want to thank them for their patience, right? Because there's a lot of patience that they have to have endured. Yeah. I would have communicated to them some of the approaches we are doing. I want to thank them for inviting me, thank them for grilling me. Right? It was a very productive meeting. Okay. I hope to continue great collaboration with them. I want to thank everybody in the country, though, for welcoming me. All right. I have always and still do feel very welcome in the country, and everybody, I want to continue to encourage you to, continue to tell me what to do and how to do it better. Yes. I do take into consideration the recommendations coming, and I hope that collectively we all understand we each have a role in helping us to get to that green economy we want, and to get back BVI to be the #1 tourism destination globally. And that is for all of us to play our part in assisting with waste management. So I want to thank everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Big Story. Kathy Richards.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Everyone looks to the future, but no one truly knows what the future holds.
The number of people under the age of 20 with type 2 diabetes could increase by 49% by 2050.
Let it be known that we all have a 30% chance of developing hypertension.
Globally, more than 300 million people of all ages suffer from depression.
More than 60,000 young adults aged 20 to 39 are diagnosed with cancer each year.
Obesity leads to problems such as stroke, heart disease, and kidney failure.
No matter your race, age, or color, we are all at risk.
These diseases can be managed or prevented if caught early.
But with the right medicine and the right doctors to keep us on a path to live a robust and healthy life,
We will live well.
All clear. Hi, I'm Cowboy, and I'm running for president of Stake. Thank you. And I will meet your needs. Some bathrooms are so expensive to build, they come with security. But at Staycation Butchers, our meats are affordable. People always ask me, Cowboy, where does your salmon come from? Well, our salmon comes from the water. I vote for Cowboy as a vote for quality, integrity, and consistency. So come into Staycation Butchers and cast your vote for me, your next president of Steak. Alexandra Durant approves this message.
No, I don't.
Plug into Digicel Plus and get even more entertainment with Disney Plus included. The best of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic all in one place. Whenever you want, plug into Plus to enjoy Disney Plus and much more with a home fiber bundle. Sign up today. Digicel Plus.